The land was cheap because no one wanted it anymore. 80 acres of dead flat prairie in the middle of nowhere. The kind of place where the horizon feels too wide and the sky presses down like it's waiting for something. The farmhouse sagged under years of wind and neglect, peeling white paint, warped porch boards that groaned underfoot, windows that rattled even when the air was still. Grove oaks clustered at the distant edges, dark shapes against the endless gold-brown corn. I told myself the quiet was what I needed after the city noise. The realtor mentioned the previous owner, Harlan, in passing. Vanished one winter after the drought broke him. Missing person file, no closure. Cases like that go cold fast out here. The Scarecrow stood in the east field, about 150 feet from the house, staked among the nearer rows where the corn met the yard grass. Close enough that I could see it clearly from the porch swing or the kitchen window. Burlap sack for a head, eyes drawn in faded black marker that had run in the rain, straw-stuffed arms tied to a rough cross of weathered 2x4s, overalls once blue, now sun-bleached to a sickly gray, cuffs leaking yellow straw like slow blood. It faced east toward the road, arms outstretched in that eternal gesture of keeping watch. Birds still perched on its shoulders sometimes, unafraid. I walked out the first afternoon, boots crunching dry earth, and touched the burlap. It felt rough, ordinary. I left it alone. Dusk changed the rules. As the sun dropped, the corn rose through long shadows eastward. Most were ordinary, straight, thinning with the light. But one shadow stretched differently. Taller, arms extended, head tilted at an angle that didn't match the wind. It mirrored the Scarecrow's pose exactly, except it lingered when the real silhouette should have shrunk back. I stood on the porch, coffee mug warming my palms, watching it creep closer to the fence line with each passing minute. The air cooled fast. No breeze stirred the stalks. The shadow reached farther toward the house every evening after that, as if the field itself was leaning in, testing the distance. The rustling began a few nights later, not the soft sigh of wind through dry leaves. This was deliberate, wave after wave of corn stalks brushing and parting, slow circles around the yard perimeter. I'd turn off the kitchen light and stand at the sink, ear to the screen mesh of the open window, hearing it move. The sound had texture, dry husks scraping, faint snaps of brittle stems bending under careful pressure, occasional heavier rustles like something dragging straw through the rows. No wind to blame it on. I'd sweep the flashlight beam across the field. Nothing but bent stalks and faint paths. No footprints in the loose dirt. The rustling felt personal, aimed at the windows, pausing under the east side before retreating. Every morning, I walked out to check the Scarecrow. The first week, it stood unchanged, head east, arms level. Then one dawn, I noticed the tilt. Slight, maybe 15 degrees toward the house. Fresh straw had spilled from the neck seam, bright yellow against the gray overalls. I crossed the yard, boots sinking in dew-damp earth, and straightened the head with both hands. The burlap was cold, clammy, colder than the morning air should allow. I told myself it's just condensation. The next morning, the arms were raised higher, elbows bent as if straining upward. Straw lay scattered wider beneath it, like it had shaken itself awake. Small things began shifting inside the house. A wooden chair in the dining room scooted 6 inches closer to the east window overnight. A coffee mug left on the counter turned so the handle pointed directly at the glass. I started noticing dust patterns on the floor. faint trails leading toward windows, as if something had paced there in the dark. Nights brought the scratching. Slow, deliberate drags of straw along the exterior siding, tracing the wall beneath my bedroom. The sound had rhythm. Pause, scrape, pause, like testing for weak spots. I'd lie rigid under the covers, heartbeat swelling thick in my ears during the silences, following the path as it moved from one end of the wall to the other before fading. I drove into town one afternoon. At the diner on the highway, an old-timer nursing black coffee remembered Harlan. He talked about feeding the field, the man said, eyes on his cup. Drought years got bad, said the Scarecrow kept things balanced, kept the land from taking more than its share. Harlan disappeared one January night, truck idling in the drive, door open, engine warm. Bent corn stalks led from the porch straight to the stake in the east field. Sheriff found nothing else. Voluntary disappearance. File closed. The old man looked up. Some farms got long memories. They remember what you owe. That night, the rustling came heavier, closer to the yard edge. Waves rolled through the stalks, like something parting them deliberately. Snaps sharper now, stems giving way under slow, steady weight. I cracked the bedroom window an inch, peered into the black. The Scarecrow's pole was a dim silhouette against the starless sky, too shadowed, too far for details. The crossbeam looked bare, as though the Scarecrow had fallen off. From the barn came the groan of the big sliding door, slowly opening, hinges protesting like old bones. Then a soft thud as it shut. A minute passed, then another thud, more distant, coming from the back side of the barn, as if the door on the other side had closed. The rustling returned and retreated into the deeper rows, leaving only my breathing and the heartbeat in my throat. I stayed inside. Dawn arrived pale and thin. The Scarecrow was back on the pole, arms lowered, head facing east again. Straw at the base looked darker, matted with soil as if dragged through wet ground. The pole itself undisturbed. No new holes, no shifted dirt around the base. But the barn door hung open 2 inches. I'd latched it the evening before. I still live here. I tell myself it's imagination, old boards settling, machinery left to rust. But every dusk, I watch the shadows stretch and lean. Every morning, I walk out to check the Scarecrow, note the straw, the tilt, the arm position. Nights bring the rustling, louder now, nearer the yard grass. The barn door creaks open and shut on quiet evenings, slow and deliberate. Something moves through the rows, closer with each cycle, taking up where Harlan left off. The void remembers, and it's waiting in the near dark,